All right. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen and individuals. Welcome to Civil Grand Jury Lab. My name is Dr. Josh Franco, Assistant Professor of Political Science at Cuyamaca College in East San Diego County, California. Let's jump right in. So the Civil Grand Jury Lab is a workshop series hosted by myself that focuses on California's 58 county civil grand juries. We virtually journey to counties throughout California, learn how to navigate their county civil grand jury websites, and review a recent civil grand jury report. This workshop is held on Thursdays from 6:30 to 7 p.m. on Zoom through the end of September. So today will be our second to last workshop of the term. So this is our schedule. Week one, we didn't have a workshop. And then we had workshop one, an overview. And then we first journeyed to Merced County, which is in the Central Valley of the state. Then we came back to San Diego County. And now we're heading back north to Alameda County in the San Francisco Bay Area. So let's go ahead and get to workshop 4. So Alameda County's civil grand jury. Here's a Google Earth of an outline of the county itself. So here are some major cities. The heart of it is Oakland, and then we have Berkeley, Alameda, San Leandro, Hayward, Union City, Fremont, the other part of another heart of the county, and then the growing eastern part of Livermore, Dublin, Pleasanton, and then we have a couple of small town and outlying communities throughout. So Alameda County, part on the eastern San Francisco Bay Area, or East Bay. So our learning objectives with this workshop are the following. First is to identify the Alameda County Civil Grand Jury website. And then secondly is to recount the consequences of ignoring civil grand jury reports. So a little bit more about Alameda County. We'll go ahead and check out Wikipedia. And we'll open up that page. And let me go and have just these first few paragraphs read to us.
Alameda County /Almid/listen, ALMED, is a county located in the U.S. state of California. As of the 2020 census, the population was 1,682,353,4,5, making it the 7th most populous county in the state, 6, and 21st most populous nationally. The county seat is Oakland. 7. Alameda County is in the San Francisco Bay Area, occupying much of the East Bay region. The Spanish word Alameda means either a grove of poplars or a tree-lined street. The name was originally used to describe the Arroyo de la Alameda. The willow and sycamore trees along the banks of the river reminded the early Spanish explorers of a road lined with trees. 8, 9. Although a strict translation to English might be Poplar Grove Creek, the name of the principal stream that flows through the county is now simply Alameda Creek. Alameda County is part of the San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley, C Metropolitan Statistical Area, and the San Jose, San Francisco, Oakland, CA Combined Statistical Area.
So obviously you can go check out a wiki to learn more about the history, events, geography, demographics, law, government and politics, crime, education, and so on, services, landmarks. For those of you who are interested in UC Berkeley, this is the county it's located in. So fun fact. All right. So let's go next to visit the website of the Alameda County Civil Grand Jury. And let me open it here and I'll come back to this slide. Actually, I should be able to read it from here. Okay, great. So this is the Alameda County Civil Grand Jury website. It's hosted on the county government's main website. And their navigation, or their subtitle is Your Public Watchdog Ensuring Openness and Integrity in Government. So there's a homepage, reports, join, submit a complaint, or contact them. And a little bit about the Civil Grand Jury itself. So I'll read the about us, and then I'll have the computer read the Citizens Watchdog. I'll read about secrecy, and then have the computer read about the public reports. So about us. Working as an arm of the Superior Court, the Civil Grand Jury is comprised of 19 citizens authorized to investigate local government to ensure that public agencies are working in the best interest of the public. Its independence gives the grand jury a unique role in securing local government accountability and in examining allegations of misconduct. Let's have this next part read to us.
The grand jury's broad legal authority and investigative powers allow it to determine whether public monies are being spent wisely and for appropriate purposes, ensure local government agencies conduct their business in an open, transparent manner, inquire into the conditions of jails, detention centers, and hospitals, and inquire into charges that a public official or employee engaged in willful misconduct while in office.
In addition to the watchdog role that every civil grand jury has, it's also this role of secrecy. So civil grand jury proceedings are conducted in secret. Complaints made to the grand jury are kept confidential, as the identities of complainants and witnesses who testify in front of the grand jury. This secrecy allows complainants, including whistleblowers and witnesses, to have confidence that their identities will not be revealed. Grand jurors who are selected for service take an oath of secrecy for life. Now, this is something that kind of highlight, and we talk about it more in the overview, as an interesting element of the theory of civil grand juries, or the theory of third-party actors with complete investigatory power, is that part of the strength that they have is the ability to conduct their proceedings in secret. This isn't common, obviously, in any elected government. They might be able to do some things behind, like in secret, but eventually it becomes public. But in this case, civil grand juries and their grand jurors take an oath and swear to life, or swear to secrecy for their lives. Lastly, on public reports. So each year, the grand jury publicly reports on the results of its investigations. The agencies that are subject of the grand jury's investigations are legally required to respond to a grand jury's findings and recommendations within 90 days. So that's a little bit about the grand jury and its website. Next, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the reports and how they're structured. So let's go ahead and open up that webpage. So here we see the final report for the 2021-2022 fiscal year of the grand jury. I do want to point out that there are previous reports dating back all the way until 2002, 2003. So there's a rich repository of data up to the past 20 years, which is pretty cool. What we'll do is we'll go and check out the full final report for this past fiscal year. So it's a PDF that we download, as you see here. Going to be opening it momentarily. And what we see here is that this is a 182-page report. Now, don't be scared. 182 pages, it's a lot, but the point is it's a lot of investigations that were done. So in this case, what we see here is their kind of initial table of contents. So they examined or investigated the county's mental health system, Oakland's use of Form 700, election integrity in the county, probate conservatorships, Santa Rita Jail, Camp Sweeney inspection, Fremont Jail, independent oversight of BART, fire inspections in Oakland, which is still happening. So this, I'll make a little note of that. Oakland's planning and building department, and student homelessness. So here they have a list of the supervisors. There's 5 of them in the county. And then here is a resolution recognizing Rob Warren, who was he was the Alameda County Assistant District Attorney. So it's a table of contents, about the supervisors in memoriam. So it looks like Rob Warren passed away. Grand jury 4 persons letter, the members, officers, legal advisors, and presiding judges of the court, committee assignments, grand jury photographs, and then a whole range of reports. So I'm actually going to skip us to the lack of fire inspections in Oakland creates unnecessary risk, because this dovetails exactly with the consequences of ignoring grand jury reports. And I'm actually seeing this for the first time. I'm rather shocked. So let me go ahead and get us to that page, which should be about 140. Okay, so this is one of the many investigations that this grand jury did in this year. And we'll go ahead and actually I'll read this out loud. So title, lack of fire inspections in Oakland creates unnecessary risk. Executive summary. Uncontrolled fires can be devastating for communities, the environment, buildings, and homes. Not only do the structures they destroy, but also to the mental and physical well-being of people. Most of us take common sense actions every day to minimize and prevent fires. We turn off the stove, we do not leave candles burning unattended, or store flammable liquids in hot places. Just as individuals can take action to minimize fire risk, California requires owners of apartment buildings, high-rise dwellings, schools, and meeting places to meet fire safety codes, laws, and regulations. Local fire departments are mandated to inspect these spaces, yet the city of Oakland has not met its requirement. The Oakland Fire Department and the city's leaders bear responsibility for unsafe environments for citizens by failing to complete state-mandated fire inspections. The lack of completed fire inspections is the focus of this report. Now you kind of see my face where I'm like, like just shaking my head because this is a 2021-2022 report. Yep. All right. Well, let's continue on with the slides and you'll see why I'm like slightly upset by this. Actually, a little more than slightly. Okay. So this next section is on the unfortunate consequence of ignoring civil grand jury reports. So I want to share a series of events that tell the real life consequences of ignoring civil grand jury reports, demonstrate the practical importance of studying these local political institutions, and clarify why a better understanding of California's civil grand juries is in the public interest. So let's go back 10 plus years to 2011. So on June 27th of that year, after a year of working together, 19 members of the Alameda County Civil Grand Jury, led by four-person Dale Rogers Marshall, wrote the following to the Honorable John R. Rolfson, presiding judge of the Superior Court. Quote, in tight economic times, it's more important than ever to rethink governmental processes and for all stakeholders to make shared sacrifices. Common themes in our recommendations include the importance of improved data management to evaluate results and reduce fraud, consistent policies and procedures to ensure fairness and accountability, and strong leadership to promote innovation, cooperation, communication internally and externally with the community. Each agency must be a learning organization with shared vision and motivated employees to work smarter in challenging and changing times. This statement of an ideal government by the foreperson was accompanied by a 165-page report that offered 54 recommendations to a dozen local government entities within the county. Specifically, the Grand Jury Government Committee dedicated 36 pages to declare findings and make recommendations to the City of Oakland's Building Services Division. That committee wrote the following, quote, the 2010-2011 Alameda County Grand Jury received numerous complaints from property owners regarding building inspection fines, protocols, and abusive practices in the City of Oakland's Community and Economic Development Agency, or CEDA, Building Services Division. These complaints were consistent with issues that had been raised by the 1999-2000 Alameda County Grand Jury, wherein they recognized improvement was needed in building services. The current grand jury investigation determined that the recommendations of the previous grand jury had not been addressed, and in fact, the situation had deteriorated. The review reports, interviews, and testimony provided to the current grand jury indicate that significant reform is needed to set forth in the body of this report. So fast forward 5 years later, 2016. So on December 2nd, fire raced through a former commercial warehouse in Oakland, California. The warehouse was called the Ghost Ship, and it served as a living space for individuals from all walks of life. And one of those individuals was Jennifer Mendiola, and she was one of my friends in graduate school. So she studied psychology and frequented the campus gym. We'd say hello, we'd chat in the hallway, converse about our courses, professor in life. And by midnight on that Friday in December, Jennifer was one of 36 people to perish in a fire. So fast forward 4 years later. So nearly 4 years after that devastating fire that took the life of Jennifer and 35 others, on July 17th, 2020, NPR reported the following, quote, the city of Oakland has settled a lawsuit with the victims of the 2016 Ghost Ship fire that killed 36 people. The total settlement is for $32.7 million. $23.5 million will go to the families of the people who died, and $9.2 million will go to Sam Maxwell, who survived the fire with lifelong injuries. Paul Mastiasic, an attorney representing 5 of the victims' families, said in a statement that the case has always been more about than just money. Quote, the lawsuit has always been focused on holding those responsible accountable. The magnitude of the loss for each of these families is immeasurable. Justice for the victims of this preventable tragedy has served as a guiding force behind my clients' efforts to seek redress in the court of law. So the conclusion. Now, this tragedy was preventable for a variety of reasons, but the reason I want to illuminate is that the county civil grand jury issued reports in 1999-2000, in 2010-11, and 2013-14, detailing deficiencies in the city government's implementation of laws and regulations with respect to buildings and structures. These reports weren't one-page executive summaries, right? They rather were detailed reports that included specific findings and specific recommendations. So while a court of law brought closure, it was a closure to an event that basically never should have happened had the civil grand jury's reports been heeded. And now seeing the most recent report where they're still talking about the same issue years later makes you think, like, what's going on? So I do want to backtrack and go to a tribute page that was created by KQED, which is a public television station. And as a tribute page to Jennifer. Let me go ahead and just have this read to us. Not printed, read.
Jennifer Mendiola threw herself into work and play with such passion, her friends and colleagues lived in awe of her. When she died in the ghost ship fire, Mendiola, 35, was close to finishing up her doctorate in health psychology at the University of California, Merced. She focused on the social and emotional factors that influence healthy and unhealthy behavior. To watch her presentation on the daily impact of social relationships is to see a woman in command of her facts and enthusiastically optimistic about improving public health.
And let's go ahead and listen to that short presentation that she gave at Grad Slam, which is an annual competition that the University of California hosts.
Social interactions are important. They can make us feel happy, supported, loved. But sometimes we don't get enough social interactions, or they aren't always positive, and they can make us feel alone and even sick. Although we know interactions matter in general, we don't know the features of interactions that impact us at the moment they occur. As a researcher at UC Merced, I want to address these
Having a bit of a loading delay here.
unanswered questions so that we can improve interactions and people's health. Surprisingly, what might matter most about interactions is how we perceive them. We can feel disconnected despite constantly engaging in conversations with others. This feeling is loneliness. Early in human history, our species' survival depended on the protection of tribes and families. Being alone meant death. In more modern times, we can survive feeling disconnected, but we still suffer the consequences of loneliness. Lonely adults consume more alcohol, get less exercise, and less sleep compared to non-lonely adults.
Another loading.
Although we know loneliness is bad, we really don't know why. On a day-to-day and even moment-to-moment basis, the mechanisms of how loneliness lead to poor health are relatively unknown. Understanding these processes requires examining loneliness.
I've never had YouTube not be able to process that. So the rest of her presentation goes on to describe the research that she's been doing and the importance of it to society as a whole. And I think what was really special about her work and her is that she really cared and was driven to basically illuminate the challenges that people face kind of at the most individual or direct level, which is that sense of loneliness and that sense of connectedness or lack thereof. So this is just part of her work and of all of her research. And This just goes to show you that when you think of these civil grand jury reports and you think about, that there's 58 counties and there's these grand jurors and they're investigating governments and it's interesting and like academic. There's a human side to this. There's a human element to all of this. And so as I began my research in the civil grand jury labs and I came across this, I was pretty shocked, right? That basically that there is an entity out there that's doing the good work of basically sniffing out waste, fraud, and abuse, sniffing out how things can be better. And they publish their reports, and for one reason or another, they're ignored. And in this case, this is one of the consequences of that, is losing a friend, losing a colleague. I know it had a really dramatic impact for my fellow colleagues in the psychology department who knew her even better than I did, and for her friends and her family. So note that civil grand jury reports illuminate things that we might not otherwise be aware of, and without heeding them, we see the ramifications of it. So with that, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen in. Look forward to our conversation. Take care and have a great rest of your evening.